Hello and welcome back here to the SRL TCR League as we prepare for the second and final pre-season event before we head across to the start of season number 11. It has been an absolutely brilliant couple of last races at the end of season number 10. It was a great pre-season round 1 week ago, and we look at going out once more here around the brilliant Interlagos circuit, of course, known as the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace. It is known better to you and me as Interlagos, the home of the Brazilian Grand Prix, and we head across in a week's time to start officially season number 11 at Donington Park Circuit, and we have got a full set of drivers prepared to head ourselves out there with teams in the mix as well, as we have a little bit of a look. We've got 43 drivers signed up right now that will be heading around the 10 rounds of competition. We start off at Donington Park in a week's time. We head to Mugello then on the 17th of April before heading across to the Nürburgring 24th. Silverstone will be on the 1st of May before we head across to Imola. Of course, Autodromo Enzo Dino Ferrari on the 8th of May for the 5th round of competition. Round number 6 will head across to Watkins Glen International, as the season dominated by British circuits will be across to Snetterton then for the 7th round of competition. On the 22nd of May, Thruxton Circuit will be round number 8 on the 29th of May before we head into June. Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course on the 5th, and then Circuit Zandvoort to end it all, round number 10 on June 12th. And what a circuit to end the season at. What a circuit to start the season at. What a calendar. Just great circuits all around, I think. Of course, the way that these calendars are set, they're a mix of the official schedule in the TCR League in iRacing and a curated list of tracks picked by the SRL admins. And here at SRL TV and Joseph White Broadcasting, we are excited to bring you each and every single one of the upcoming races for this season of competition, as we are going back out for our second full season here at Joseph White Broadcasting, partnering with SRL TV. We stepped in halfway through season 9, of course, and we've went through the whole of season 10 together. We're now looking forward to season 11 together as well. And if you want to catch up on how season 10 went before we start the 11th season of competition in a week's time, then head across to Joseph Wright's Broadcasting on YouTube, and you can check out all of the race highlights as we are now up to date with season number 10 being completed. The pre-season highlight videos will be out before the start of season number 11. Get yourself subscribed over there. Of course, if you're watching over on SRL TV on YouTube, hit that subscribe button so you're notified when we go live every Friday for these wonderful TCR League events, and no breaks in races here either. We have all constant racing. We have every single race back to back, and at the end of season number 11, of course, we'll be going straight into our season 12 pre-season events. So no breaks here on SRL TV. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button. You won't miss a single one of the upcoming rounds for season number 11 or the future either. And it is nice to see a few drivers out there that we've not seen in a little while, and our no focus would be, of course, it's lovely to see Dan Mould back out there again. Mould has been having some issues as of late with some injuries, but he is getting back out there. Of course, he was our season 9 champion. He was unable to defend his title into season number 10 due to his injuries that pulled him out of the remainder of the season. However, he is back down there in the car again, and he is not signed up for season number 11. We should say this, that Dan Mould is not officially joining us for the 11th season of competition, but it is nice to see him getting out there and giving it a go in these pre-season events. He was here last week as well, and it was nice to have him, so we'll see how he gets on around this 15-turn circuit that is Interlagos. And it's not the first time that we're heading down here tonight at Joseph Wright Broadcasting. If you've been watching our previous event, we were obviously just around here, and it proved to be a circuit where in the inverted grid is going to make it challenging. Of course, an update this season with our inverted grids in terms of the second race of the day. 2 races will be coming your way. Race number 1 will be set by the grid order on qualifying. So the qualifying event where all drivers will be getting out there together on the same track at the same time. Helpful along the main pit straight, of course, here at Interlagos. Not so helpful through the technical sections of the infield section. I'll say infield section of the Interlagos circuit. Race number 2, however, used to be the top 15 for parts of your invert. That has been reduced. The top 10 now part of your invert. Race number 2 causing a lot of catastrophes over the course of season number 10. So that update has been made to reduce the amount of cars in the invert. What it does mean is that less of our back marker cars, our amateur drivers, will find their way towards the front of the second race. What it also means is you're not going to have the pro drivers pushing as hard in that 25-minute race to try and work their way back through the front, because they'll only, if you're starting in 10th, have 9 cars to make your way back to the win instead of 14. So it's going to be a little bit easier in that one. This is going to be exciting, though, to see how they get around here at Interlagos. Of course, the last week and this week, non-point scoring rounds and drivers that aren't going to be taking part in the championship are allowed to get down. These are free events for our drivers, so they can get themselves involved. For the racing next week, however, get yourself signed up right now if you want to get yourself onto the grid, because it is almost fully sold out once again, as last season was as well. And if you want to get yourself over there, then make sure you're hitting witches. It's this side. We'll go over to the... There we go. Go over there. Get your camera out on your phone and go over to the QR code, or of course you can head over to the link that is in the descriptions on the YouTube streams, so you can get yourself over into the Discord, get yourself signed up, and we want to see you on track for season number 11. Also, we have got a lot of teams going to be out there again. We had a whole host of teams, 21 teams in fact going out in season number 10. I think we might actually get more teams this season as well. I think we could go to almost every single driver being in a team. It's certainly looking that way, as I have a little bit of a look within all of the chats and within all of the announced drivers and teams as it stands. We'll have to wait and find out, though. Let's get down onto the chat, though, and prepare to go racing. If you are watching over on any of the broadcasts, then make sure that you are hitting that follow button, that subscribe button. And if you are watching on the catch-up, you're watching this after it has been streamed live, welcome in. And I appreciate your dedication to watching the whole broadcast and not just the races, so welcome in to this one. As we do prepare to go racing around the Sao Paulo circuit. And what a circuit it is, it's had a lot of changes over the years, of course, starting with it being what was an outer circuit, of course, basically just a massive oval without the banking and without 4 corners. It was about 6 corners on that one. But we shall have to wait and find out of how they get around on the infield section in these cars. And if the broadcast that we were doing earlier tonight is anything to go by, it is going to be a lot of late-breaking moves to try and duck it up the inside. There is no doubt about that. As drivers will try to make up any position they possibly can. 28 drivers, as it stands, are prepared to head out for the second and final pre-season event, heading up towards season number 11. Our defending champion, of course, in that of Adam Delmont, is not here. Once again, Adam Delmont is a driver that we want to keep an eye out to see if he will return for the next season of competition. And as it stands, he is not in this session for the preseason. I'm just double checking our entry list as well with Adam Delmont, and I still cannot see Delmont's name on that entry list. And remember that Delmont, if we think back to the round 10 broadcast at Hungary, when we spoke to Delmont afterwards, we asked, are we going to see you in season number 11? There was uncertainty in his voice. He did not like the update that came very recently, of course, at the start of the iRacing season before round 9 of season number 10. He has not liked the update and the change to the cars. So it doesn't look like we will be having our defending champion competing in season number 11, which means that door is open for grabs. Will we see the returning Dan Mould, however, joining the championship, or will we see other drivers having the opportunity? Kim Borkland will be hoping that he will have a great opportunity to try and take the championship this year, but other drivers will be stepping into the fray as well. Daniel Downing won the semi-pros last year, had some really great races. Will we see him? Well, we will see him up in the pro standings this season. Will we see him at the front of the order is the question. A lot of other drivers showing proving that they are fast here. New names, Gordon Haig, quick last week, quick again here today. He's fourth in the practice session as it stands right now. A few new names, of course, out there, so it's nice to see a mix of old, a mix of new. Peter Van Gool, a new name out there. Dami Herber, a new name out there. Both of those are running under the Netherlands banner alongside Demis Titchler. In fact, it is nice to see Demis Titchler returning after being teammated with Borkland last year in a mishmash of a team. He'll be back to partnering with De Jong, who returns from his partnership with Borkland. So De Jong and Titchler will be under the Hydro Racing Forces machine for next year. There's a few new teams out on the server, out on the circuit for next week as well. No team names will be on the broadcast today. However, we will see Snail's Pace Racing Team heading out there under the two new drivers, Joshua Syme and Lewis McCaig. Will be heading out there. You got Blitz Boys Motorsport will be heading out. That's Lucas Henschel and Chris London. They were under the Jazz Esports banner last season. They're still got that logo on their car, but they're moving across to the Blitz Boys Motorsports machine. We have got Crest Autosport stepping into the fray as well. Alan McCain, Stephen Fry will be heading out on that one. We've got the Break Dancers, Fraser Garrity, Craig Walters. They were SRL purple teammates last year, I believe it was. No, blue teammates. They were SRL blue teammates last year. The Break Dancers, they are this year. Pole position is heading out. That's Paul Hurley and new driver Marco Mikulainen, who will be heading out in that team as well. JC Academy returns to the fray. Thomas Coombe and new driver Josh Taylor under the banner for that one. But we do expect to see more JC Academy drivers. We expect to see more Sim Racing Norway drivers out there as well. Currently, Mail and Olsen Leah are teammated up once again under that banner. You've got SRL Green out there. John Brown, Daniel Lewis as normal. They'll be out there once again in this one. Actually, Daniel Lewis is stepping into... No, he isn't. No, that was the SRL Green. SRL Purple is as normal. Daniel Downing and Mark Draper, same as last year. Area Motorsport, the same. Luke Woodhouse, Ben Gibbons will be together again this season. Blade Designs with Deck Crouser and Stuart Gibbons, they're the same. Result Clothing will have Carl Hardy once again, but they'll also see Pete Van Gool stepping in, new driver for that one. And Lumen Motorsport, Kevin Marshall says Scott Malcolm will be in that team as well. So they're all your teams as they prepare for next week. But of course, we'll keep you fully up to date under all of the team banners next week as we prepare to go racing for the opening round. As I say, there will be no team names or any indication of teams today on the broadcast. You may see liveries being driven though. Of course, we will have classes and team names set for the opening round of competition in a week's time. Those classes, though, will be temporary, with them being confirmed a few races into the season, with any adjustments that are needed to be made. Practice, then, here at Interlagos is over, and we will be getting ready for the first of our main competitive sessions. It is qualifying. With 15 minutes on the board, drivers are going to be heading out around what is a very sunny Brazilian circuit, and drivers will be heading out of pit lane with it is Kim Borkland, the first of our drivers out of pit lane and coming on to the racing surface. What I do like about the SRL TCR Championship is you will always see a mix of cars. Yes, your Audi is the popular choice. There is no doubt about that. The Audi is the car that's looking to pull the most of the weight in this series. And the upcoming competition, of course, drivers aren't stuck with their car choices that they're doing in pre-season. They'll get another opportunity going into round number 1 to choose, and then I think they've got one free change throughout the season. Of course, in season number 10, drivers made that change with the car update. However, I don't think many drivers did a switch in season 9. That being said, the Hondas are still quite popular out there, with a lot of drivers still jumping into that machine. And the Hyundais have got a number out there, but I don't believe the Veloster is a car that anyone is choosing anymore. I think it's fallen the way of the Elantra, and the Elantra has taken the spot of the Veloster, which is nice for me. I do prefer the Elantra. I prefer looking at the Elantra, and I prefer driving the Elantra. But it is a shame that the Veloster has sort of fallen off the back. I'm sure there'll be a few updates towards to the cars over the season, and potentially we'll see them all in line with each other once more, with some having better straight line speed, some being better at corners, but overall being rather evenly matched. Right, Kim Borkland has started his flying lap here around Interlagos. He comes through the centre S's of 1 and 2 and into the Curva de Sol. Turn number 3 here, and up towards turn 4, Desquida do Lago, which is the double left-hander. Stick it to the right-hand side, shifting up just before the braking zone there. Again, getting it onto the curbing on the inside. Make sure you don't push it wide. That is an off-track for Borkland. We'll keep on board on a lap so we can see what a lap is like, but this lap will not count for Borkland. He swings to the left up towards Ferradura of 6 into 7 of Curva do Larangina here. Again, push it out wide, keep it within track limits though, and then one of the tightest corners on the circuit. It is turn 8. You want to keep it tight as possible before you switch across to the left-hand side of turn number 9 and up towards Bico di Pato here, turn number 10. Push it out to the left-hand side. Again, this is matching turn number 8 in tightness. It is almost a 180-degree turn, about 160 degrees both of those turns. It's turn number 11 on Mergulo there, and up towards 12 of Juncao to brake. And then turn into the curbing, push it out a little bit wide there. Again, you don't want to push ourselves too wide. Borkland's lap is already invalidated. If it wasn't, that would have invalidated it there. Then through 14 into 15, which will be this final kink. You can go all the way left over the pit entry line. You can go over the chevrons as well, and up towards the timing line. Kim Borkland crosses the line. It will not be a lap time on the board because he did go off twice. In fact, that is strange. He's gone onto the timing board. He got an off track twice on my screen, but Borkland's interesting. My off track seems to be more sensitive than the qualifying off tracks here, because Borkland is good enough for 4th, not good enough for pole position though. That goes with Gordon Haig at the moment. And as you can see, these liveries are becoming strangely familiar. We will see the Sim Racing Norway machines. I know there are a number of them going to be heading out next season into the competition. The team's just preparing to get signed up and partnered up for the competition ahead. But Gordon Haig here running around the fastest at the moment. Demis Titchler in their lovely updated Hydro Race Racing Forces machine. On the Audi, that livery looking very nice in the number 22 machine. He's second fastest of them all at the moment. Dan Mould was fastest in practice. We'll see what he can do here. Running around in the number 1 machine at the moment. Of course, he will not have the number 1 machine on his car if he does compete next season. That honour will go the way of Adam Dalmont if he signs up. Mould, though, coming through turn number 12 of Juncao. He does have a distant toe there on Gordon Haig, so this will be helping him out a little bit if this lap time remains valid for him, and it is pushing all the way to the left-hand side, cut over the chevrons and up towards the timing line for Dan Mould. Will this time be a one on the board for him? It's a 40 flat for him, and it is good enough for second position. Daniel Downing, your semi-pro champion from season number 10, I should say, running around in third position now as he moves past Demis Titchler. A lot more drivers getting their times onto the board. Torben Mail here looking to do something. He was, for a moment in time, in with a championship fight in the amateur class last season. Tied on points with Olsen Leo, in fact, early doors, but it fell away from him, and it ended up being a fight between Olsen Leo and Thomas Kuhn. It went the way of Vigard Olsen Leo, of course, in the final round of asking at the Hungaroring with a absolutely fantastic top 5 result in the last round of the season. Carl Hardy finds himself up into 11th position in the 173 machine, as Mail is 21st on the board at the moment. We're waiting for a few drivers to head out. Gibbons, Larson and Matt Pierce yet to head out onto the track to try and put some lap times in. Andy Littler here is out on track. No lap time on the board for the number 25 machine. If you want to tell me who you're supporting tonight and heading forward into season number 11, then make sure that whatever chat you are in, whether you're watching on either the YouTube or whether you're watching on the Twitch, let us know in the chat, and we'll keep an eye out for that one to show your support for the drivers out there today. Gordon Haig, the fastest of them all, only just faster than Kim Andre Borkland, as the Norway drivers are finding their way to the very front of the pack. Dan Mold, though, in third, and the top 3 are separated by less than a tenth of a second right now. Your top 15 separated by less than a second. Dami Herber out there goes for an improvement up to 12th position as Andrew Littler comes across the timing line. As Dami Herber, I'm trying to figure out the livery here, is also running under the Snail livery of that one, the Snail Pace Racing team. So is there potentially going to be a second Snail's Pace Racing team in this championship? Because Dami Herber is running under that livery as well. Peter Van Gool here in the Result Clothing machine, partnering up with Carl Hardy. And it is nice to see 2 of these machines, because do you know what? This livery is a complete throwback for me in terms of BTCC. It's the Honda Yuasa Racing machines back in like 2010, I'm thinking, before they were Halfords and whilst they were still in the series. That's what this livery is giving me, those vibes. And it is so lovely now to get 2 of them out on track, because it honestly is. It's so simple, but because it's such a throwback for me as somebody who's watched touring cars now for like 20 years, since I was a wee young'un, this is brilliant to see out there. So I do thank the clothing racing team machines out there that are heading around. Of course, that's the Result Clothing. So it's nice to see them out in that livery, as we'll keep livery spotting in the this one. Chris McIntosh is out there in the KC Autos machine now. If you were watching the broadcast earlier here on Joseph White Broadcasting, you'll know that Chris McIntosh went on to have a very strong result in the second race of the day in an inverted grid, went on to win that race overall and had some good racing. Not race number 1 though. We'll see how McIntosh gets on out there today. We also had a word with him after that one, so we'll see if we can have another word with him after this one actually, potentially, as we do grab a few of the drivers into the booth after the first and second races of the day. So make sure that you're sticking around at the end of the second race as well, where we talk to each of our drivers. So let's have a little bit of a look at some other liveries out there. Livery spotting is what we're doing right now. This is the Blitz Boys liveries. So this is the 2 drivers, Chris London being one of them that used to race, were racing under the Jazz eSport banner last season. You can see the jazzracing.com underneath the Blitz Boys Motorsport banner. So I do assume that they're still part of the same outfit. They're just racing under the Blitz Boys machine this season. But again, another nice livery on that one. I do like the white running. It does make it very simplistic. It's quite nice. Of course, the SRL liveries, you see a lot of them out on the circuit. Different colours. You've got the greens, you've got the blues, you've got the purples. Just the green and purple team this season so far. I think we have 4 teams in SRL last season in the end. Josh Taylor is out there under the JC Academy banner. Of course, he's running under the only JC Academy banner that's currently signed up for the championship alongside Thomas Coombe. Coombe, of course, missing out on the amateur championship last season. It's going to be interesting. I think Coombe has enough pace to be put up into the Pro-Am championship, but at the same time, I think that he should. I think another season in amateurs for him would be great for him to hone his skills before season 12. It's going to be interesting to see where drivers are placed for the upcoming season of competition, though, and everything will be taken into account. Last season's competition, pre-season's events as well, iRacing, everything that might have some sort of impact will be taken into account. And of course, after the first few races, they might be changed around a little bit if needed. JB Deshay is heading out there in a very different livery to last season. Of course, last season it was that grey livery that we saw on him. The yellow wheels stay, but it is a bright blue livery for this season. And Craig Walters was stepped into the SRL team last season, of course, out of that SRL team for the upcoming season. Staying with Fraser Garrity in the championship, we're running under the break dancers, and no Garrity here tonight, unfortunately for him, because he's out on holiday. It sucks that he's stuck on holiday and not able to get out on racing, of course. I'm sure that you're having a good time out there, though, and he is watching the broadcast, so good evening to you. But of course, we will see that livery out there on both machines. We saw it last week, and it was nice to see both of the 2 cars on the same livery. Running on different cars, though, of course. They were running different manufacturers last week, so it'll be interesting to see how that fares, as well as Kim Borkland finds a substantial amount of time coming up towards the end of this qualifying session as he goes over a 10th quicker now of Gordon Haig. Haig has fallen down into 2nd position in this session as we head up towards turn number 4. We watch Haig looking to see if he can improve. And yeah, there is Fraser Garrity having a good time. Excellent indeed. And we can't wait to see you back down on track at Donington Park in a week's time for the start of the 11th season of competition. I can't believe we're already there. I feel like it was only yesterday that I was approached to step in for season number 9. So this has been an absolute whirlwind. And I think that that's what's great about this series is it is never ending. You have your pre-season events that you can get down and continue racing for, but if you want to take a couple of weeks off, well, that's okay too. And then you head out for 10 weeks of competition, and then guess what? You have a few weeks break again. Of course, we have normally got 3 pre-season events. We didn't heading up to season number 10 because we had the Christmas break, so we only had 2 weeks of pre-season. We didn't have 3 weeks of pre-season this time either, but that's because we delayed our final round of competition. Hungaroring, originally meant to be the 5th round of season 10, ended up being round number 10 due to a family funeral here in the Joseph Wright broadcasting booth. So we delayed that round. It does mean only 2 rounds of pre-season instead of the 3. But there's been no less racing than normal that 1 week that we had off. While drivers were able to get out there, and they had a bit of fun around the Donington Park circuit for a non-points event, and it was a great evening of racing for all. So it'll be great to see them once again getting out in just a fun evening, a preparing evening. Drivers just trying out new cars, getting used to their teammates, getting used to drivers that they're going to be racing. Some for the first time as qualifying comes towards a close here. 20 seconds left on the board. Kim Borkland is at the top of your order in this one, and it looks like with 15 seconds on the board, he will be taking pole position around the wonderful Interlagos circuit. We'll talk you through the grid in just a moment's time, as I need to take a little bit of a sip there because it has been action-packed racing here at Joseph Wright Broadcasting. If you missed our earlier broadcast, make sure you head across to our Twitch page, our YouTube channel as well, at Joseph Wright TV. and you can get yourself followed or subscribed over there. You won't miss any other broadcasting that we do over there. Because we are going out for more racing, 4 more broadcasts over the course of this weekend, over Saturday and Sunday, as we head into our 4th super weekend of the year. Right then, let's talk you through your starting grid then for race number 1, and it will be Kim Borkland starting this one from pole position ahead of Gordon Haig. Dan Mould will be in 3rd position, starting ahead at Chris McIntosh, and Daniel Downing from 5th position. Jack Brown showing he's got the pace, starts in 6th. 7th for Demis Titchler, John Brown in 8th place, and 9th for Craig Walters. JB Dejay will be starting in 10th position ahead of Lucas Henschel. Jura Larkinen will start in 12th. Josh Taylor in 13th position ahead of Daniel Lewis. Dami Herber from 15th ahead of Carl Hardy. Paul Hurley will start in 17th position. Christopher Evans from 18th. 19th will be for Peter Van Gool ahead of Stuart Gibbons. Joshua Syme from 21st ahead of Dec Crowther. Stuart Malcolm will start from 23rd ahead of Torburn Mail in 24th position. Chris London will be starting from 25th ahead of Kevin Marshall-Say. Andy Littler will be starting from 27th. Christian Larson from 28th position on the grid. Matt Pearce from 29th, and it will be Ben Gibbons from 30th and last for the first race of the day here. Remember, your top 10 results from race number 1 will be starting in the inverted order in race number 2. Josh Taylor getting some support there in YouTube from Cuddle Sim Racing. Josh Taylor sitting in 13th on the grid here. It'd be nice to know that he's got some support in the chat for him, and we prepare to go racing. 2 races heading your way. The first one will be 20 minutes. The second one, with our top 10 invert, is going to be 25 minutes. Just that little bit of extra time for our race winner, who will be starting in 10th to make his way through back towards the front of the order. Just waiting for the last 5 drivers. Not everybody has made it to the grid here, but we prepared to go racing for the first race of the day here, pre-season 2. We are green and away as we head up towards turn number 1. Walters there getting very slow off the line as we come up towards turn number 1. Mould there already was looking like he tried to make a move towards the lead, but we do go 2 by 2 into turn number 1. Everyone facing the right way until Joshua Syme spinning in front of Torburn Mail. Collected there. Larkinen gets by Lucas Henschel into the top 10 position. Henschel, who was in the amateur class 2 seasons ago, is up in 11th right now and showing that he has got some pace. Looks to the inside there as he runs around trying to get past Jura Larkinen. Sorry, he was stuck on the outside. It was Carl Hardy behind who was looking to the inside. As this is Hardy running around in a new livery. In fact, I was complimenting that livery earlier. It's a new livery on the Carl Hardy machine as he gets onto the brakes. Back towards the front, though, because it is Demis Titchler who is trying to keep at bay Jack Brown. Brown running in that nondescript testing livery here this week. And Chris McIntosh has got some great pace in the number 11 machine in 4th position. But on the opening lap of asking, Kim Borkland continues to lead ahead of Gordon Haig here as we come through turn number 12 of Shunkau. A little bit of grass being kicked up there. Borkland, Haig and Mould all kicking it up as we head out of the final turn and up towards the timing line. 1 lap done, and with 18 minutes still on the board, we're looking at another 11 here as we go across the timing line to finish the first lap of asking. Daniel Downing is on the rear end of John Brown looking for 7th position. Goes to the outside. It is very late on the brakes there for Daniel Downing. He will miss the braking zone for turn number 1. He will have to try and find his way back on as safely as possible, and he does so at turn number 2. Daniel Downing, though, down a lot of positions on that one, and the semi-pro champion will not be enjoying his start to race number 1. Dan Mould gets to the inside of Gordon Haig and moves through into 2nd position. Haig looks to try and carry the speed through on the way back, though, and it is going to be side by side, but Mould is going to be boxed in by Borkland. It allows Haig to try and carry the outside line here through 6 and 7 onto turn number 8 as they get onto the brakes. Mould getting Haig all over his rear end here as they now switch across into turn number 9. It's once again single file at the front of this one as we jump for a moment into the midfield pack, because Scott Malcolm has just made his way past JB Dejay. Dejay now could be under attack from Gibbons as he ran wide through turn number 9. That's a broken left front headlight as well, so there's definitely been some contact on the front end that is still illuminated, but you can just see for a moment that it has been dislodged from its usual position out of the front of the car there. As Joshua Syme, who went around at the first turn, is down pit lane with a meatball, and it looks like he will be out of the first race of the day. Served that meatball, so he might be getting himself back out on track, and he'll be looking to see if he can find some time with that. And he does find himself back out on track there. That was Chris McIntosh going wide at turn number 1. It's going to invite John Brown and Jack Brown into this one. Sorry, that's going to invite Titchler and Jack Brown into this one. Titchler following just behind, and that is Brown to the left-hand side. Titchler now moves to the inside of McIntosh, has to settle down for just a moment. You saw at the front of the field, Mould looking to get up the inside of Borkland for just a moment as well, but he won't be able to do that. He'll have to stay behind for the time being, and Brown will have to stay behind Titchler as we see some positions changing in the background. Craig Walters is trying to keep the outside on Daniel Downing just behind Dick Crowther, and Josh Taylor are running together as well. Taylor looked to the inside of Crowther, has to back out, and now has Demi Herber, I believe that was, trying to make the move around the outside. It was, but Taylor carries the speed there through turn number 9. He's on the slightly wider line. He'll settle in. Craig Walters is trying to get back past Daniel Downing, and he swaps over onto the brakes at turn number 10. They are side by side in this fight for 13th position. Walters will fall just behind though, and Daniel Downing stays ahead in 13th position. Onto the brakes, there's a little bit of a nudge there from Walters. It forces Downing slightly wide through Juncal and up towards the timing line. Now that was Walters trying his hardest, still trying his hardest to get to the inside of Daniel Downing in a door that just was not open. Titchler now is getting under attack from Jack Brown. Brown's to the inside of 1. Titchler just can't hold in it. Will have to back out of that one and give up positions now. Craig Walters will not be able to make a move back on Daniel Downing through turn number 1 either, and has to remain behind for the time being. Already 5 minutes through the race with 3 laps gone already. This is Daniel Lewis chasing down his teammate for the season of John Brown. They were partnered up last season. They're partnered up again this season. They've got Jura Larkinen chasing in on the rear end, as well as Dick Crowther gets past Daniel Downing. It looks like Downing has had an issue. Was that contact again? It looked like it might have been contact with Craig Walters. Yep, Walters drives into the back of him for what is about the 3rd time now, and that was Crowther taking full advantage. Downing gets back onto the circuit, and he still has Walters behind him as we now head up towards the end of the lap. We've got support for Thor in the chat there as we come through and towards the end of the lap. As Craig Walters running around 15th position at the moment. The contact, of course, earlier on, that we're hoping not to repeat. Jack Brown got past Demis Titchler, and now will be looking to do the same on Chris McIntosh and potentially try to close the 2.3 second deficit up to the podium sitters. Brown looks to the outside, dives to the inside. Chris McIntosh there stays on the wider line, and that is Titchler looking to see if he could follow his way through. Brown takes that position. McIntosh holds on to 5th. Titchler will stay in 6th, but John Brown and Daniel Lewis now just a couple of tenths of a second behind, chasing on through as we head up towards turn number 4. It is all very, very close out there at the moment, and I get on my timing screens a little bit of a highlight in orange to show me where they're really close fights are, and it's really, really bright orange. And at the moment, that pretty much goes for the entire field. We watch Demis Titchler here to the inside of Chris McIntosh. He wants to get 5th position. He is going to hold the inside line, and that is also John Brown sticking his nose in to the inside of McIntosh as well. It swings across, and McIntosh has that inside line through turn number 9. It settles himself down. Brown gets right onto the rear end of the KC Autos machine, but has to stay behind in the SRL green for the time being as we're approaching the halfway stage, as this is Josh Taylor trying to carry around speed here on Peter Van Gool. He gets to the inside. Van Gool on the outside line here as we head up towards the braking zone. A little bit of arches of the wheels banging together there, but we head out of turn number 12 and onto the timing line. Josh Taylor in 17th position ahead of 18th. Support for Jack as well, and Jack Brown in that 4th position right now. He's 2.3 seconds off of your leading fight, which has just switched around. Gordon Haig getting past Dan Mould up towards turn number 1. Haig went to the outside line here, and it was a move to the outside, and Mould just not able to do much in way of defense. That was a little bit of a nudge, and then it swapped over in Haig's favor. Mould, though, back at it, trying to get around the outside of 4. If he can keep his nose in for turn number 6, and Mould is going to keep his nose in here for turn number 6. Dan Mould looking to get back past Gordon Haig. This is allowing Borkland to gain away, but crucially for Jack Brown, it is allowing him to catch up into this fight at the moment as well. As we come into turn number 9, Dan Mould holds on ahead of Haig, but now Jack Brown is only 9/10 of a second back. He is well and truly invited into this fight. Torben Mail is invited into a fight with Chris London towards the back of the field, looking for 25th position. Mail makes that move up the inside. London doesn't want to back out of it in the Blitz Boys machine, but he is going to have to remain behind for the time being in 26th place. They remain in line. John Brown now looking to try and get past Chris McIntosh as McIntosh continues to fall down the order. Titchler made his way through. Now John Brown has made his way through. Daniel Lewis will be the next driver who will be lining up Chris McIntosh for an overtake here. Up towards turn number 1. Brown holds the inside line to go defensive over McIntosh there, and he will hold on to 6th position in this race. Daniel Downing looked to the inside of Craig Walters, but now after the contact earlier on, he gives up the position. This is how that one moved. Whoa, that was a very wobbly move and momentum there, but he backed out of it, which I think was the safer thing to do. This is the chain of drivers that goes to 5th position, being led by Demis Titchler at the moment. This is your top 4 in your race. Borkland at the front of the field, Brown chasing up the rear. It's Mould and Haig in the centre of your screens right now as we come through turn number 8. Various fights going on around this field, as this is Josh Taylor and Scott Malcolm running side by side in the mid-pack right now in towards turn number 8. Taylor stuck on the outside line. If he can keep his nose in, it will be the inside, but no, that is going to go the way of Malcolm, and here comes JB Deshay. The outside line, though, very tricky to hold the pace, and it is not going to happen. Daniel Downing gets the inside of Craig Walters and makes that move back through, and Downing now up into 14th position as JB Deshay looks to try and get past Josh Taylor. Can't do it, as it looks like we have said goodbye to Ben Gibbons in this race, which is a real shame. Deshay all over the rear end of Josh Taylor here, looking to carry some good speed up towards the timing line and towards turn number 1 as we prepare for the final 4 laps of racing action. 8 minutes left on the clock here as Deshay all over the rear of Josh Taylor as we head up towards turn number 1. Is he going to try to make the move to the inside? No, he goes to the outside as Taylor holds the centre line there. Deshay does have a nose in. He could have a nose in as we swap across. That is going to have to leave the door open there from Taylor for JB Deshay. as DJ tried to get towards the inside, couldn't quite make that move, and he is going to have to stay behind for the time being as we head up towards turn number 4. It is once again a very, very close fight here, DJ over Taylor, and that is Christopher Evans stepping out there in the number 10 machine, all over the rear end of DJ now in the Elantra, finding a good amount of pace on this part with seeing DJ and Taylor ahead, fighting it out. 7 minutes left in the time at the moment. As we go back towards this fight, it is going to be John Brown looking to the inside of Demis Titular, side by side. Titular running their slightly wider line. It will give him the inside though through Mugello of 11. Up towards breaking point of Juncal. Is Brown going to back out a little bit earlier to try and get the pace? He certainly tried to, but they're both going to find themselves off. Chris McIntosh now looking to benefit from that one, and Brown falls down the order as that is Chris McIntosh back into 5th position. Here comes Larkinen over the rear end of Daniel Lewis as Brown falls down to 9th and under attack from Lucas Henschel. Henschel now looks to try and go to the inside as well up towards turn number 1. Is it going to be to the inside for Henschel? It is 3 wide into turn number 1. They all make it through as we switch across to the right-hand side. A little bit of grass getting collected from Larkinen there. Larkinen has John Brown just ahead of him as they run side by side. Henschel side by side with Lewis here as we head up towards turn number 4. Who is going to end up in front on this one? It is going to be to the inside for Larkinen. Brown running a very wide line, as did Daniel Lewis. The 2 SRL green drivers running off the circuit at turn number 4, both of them losing time. But this is still going to be side by side between John Brown and Larkinen. Larkinen on the outside, Brown on the inside here as we go up the hill. Brown is going to hold on to the position, but Larkinen looks for that late move towards the inside line. It won't help him out through turn number 9 though as we switch over, but he does carry a lot of speed on the entry, and it will work out for him because up to 10, Jura Larkinen will have the inside line. And John Brown, after looking to try and get into 5th position on the previous lap of asking, has fallen down to 10th position in just 1 lap there. Very close between them all. Jack Brown just half a second away from a podium position here to try and get past Gordon Haig. We have got on our time as Borkland crosses the line 3 more laps to go in this race as we come around turn number 1. Brown closing as hard as he can. Of course, he is the highest Hyundai Elantra in this one. The 3 leaders are all running in that brand new Audi. As we see Crowther side by side with Daniel Downing as well. It is going to be Crowther having to stay behind Downing for the time being as we jump towards 21st position because Christopher Evans once again is on the rear end of Josh Taylor here. And heading up towards turn number 4. Is he going to go towards the inside? Is he going to stay behind for Christopher Evans? He'll stay behind for the time being, about half a second, well, about 4/10 of a second there. Back to Jack Brown and Gordon Haig in their fight for 3rd position because Brown is all over the rear end of Gordon Haig right now as we sit on board the Elantra, the highest placed Elantra in this race. Chasing behind the number 19 machine. Gordon Haig started this race in 2nd. Of course, Brown started this race in 6th, but it's where you end up, not where you start. And we know that from race number 2, which will be coming up after this one because the top 10 will be inverted. We head out of turn number 12 at Juncal and towards the timing line. 2/10 of a second between them. Brown is going to be getting a good amount of tow here as we head up towards the timing line and towards the braking zone of the Senna S. Is Brown going to make any move on it this time? The gap is less than 1.5 of a second. Moves to the right, moves to the left, moves to the right. Haig stays on the left-hand side here. Brown on the wider line, looking to try and get the speed on the exit here because Haig is on that tighter line. Brown now puts his foot down, looks for the pace on the exit of the corner, has a good amount of speed on the exit, and is once again going to be closing up towards Gordon Haig here as we get up towards turn number 4. He's put his car towards the inside, showing Gordon Haig, hey, I'm here, I might make a move. Of course, a bit too far back to make a move from that point, but Haig running at slightly wider line gives Brown a perfect opportunity to get all over the rear end here. Haig is going to stick on the tighter line up towards turn number 9, then moves across to the right hand side because he knows that Brown is not going to be able to get it to the inside at this stage of asking. Up towards turn number 8 though, and it is still very close between the two of them as they fight it out. Daniel Lewis is side by side with Larkinen, and that's going to be deep for Lewis, and that is Carl Hardy looking to take full advantage of this as we come through turn number 9. Larkinen stays up ahead. John Brown is now side by side with his teammate Lewis. Brown trying to keep it on the wider line. Is he going to be able to do so? Yes, he is. It'll switch across to his inside now. John Brown gets past Daniel Lewis, and Carl Hardy wants to get his nose in here as well and doesn't want to let Daniel Lewis just pull away. There's a little bit of a nudge there as that will be Lewis off the circuit, and Carl Hardy up into 10th position, back towards the podium fight though, because here comes Jack Brown to the outside of Gordon Haig as we go on to the white flag lap. Brown backs out early. He is going for the speed on the exit. He gets his nose in, probably where he didn't expect to there, because it doesn't set him up well through the curve of the Sol and up towards turn number 4 now. Jack Brown has just 11 more corners to make a difference in this opening race and get onto the podium. He will definitely be stepping into the pro field, I feel, for this season, as that's once again a little bit wide from Gordon Haig in the fight for 3rd position. Daniel Downing is going to be back on Paul Hurley as they're going to settle it down in that fight. It is going to be Hurley on the inside. It is going to be Downing on the outside. I say back, actually. This is Daniel Downing who's fallen back to this fight. Paul Hurley makes that move through and will have to try and hold it now along the long way around here of turn 6 and 7. He does keep it there for the time being. Onto the braking zone of turn number 8. Hurley going for the deeper, later braking. It doesn't play out for him. Jack Brown looking once again for the pace and the speed at the very end of this one. We head up towards the final turn. It just isn't going to be enough, it looks like, for Jack Brown. He's going to get one more opportunity at toe. Here he gets his nose to the inside. No, he doesn't. It looked like he just about got towards the inside there. But Kim Borkland will end race number 1 today in victory ahead of Dan Mould up towards the timing line. And Haig will just beat Jack Brown to the line. 67 hundredths of a second. Correct that to 57 hundredths of a second between the two of them as Chris McIntosh crosses the line next. A few other drivers look at this. Just it becomes a drag race to the timing line as drivers try to take any position they possibly can towards the end of this one. Our final driver across the line will be Torburn Mail. And with that being said then, race number 1 is said and done. So let's get a look at our race results here from the first race of the day, and then we will have a quick word with one of your drivers after that first race. Right, race number 1 was won by Kim Borkland there, taking victory ahead of Dan Mould. It was then Gordon Haig coming across the line in 3rd position, just ahead of Jack Brown. Chris McIntosh in 5th. 6th for Lucas Henschel ahead of Demis Titular. Jura Larkinen in 8th. John Brown taking home 9th position. Carl Hardy took home 10th position in that race. 11th went the way of Daniel Lewis ahead of Daniel Downing. Paul Hurley in 13th. Dec Crowther crossed the line in 14th position. Craig Walters in 15th ahead of Dami Herber. Peter Van Gool finished in 17th ahead of Scott Malcolm. JP Dejay in 19th, and Josh Taylor in 20th position. 21st went the way of Christopher Evans. Kevin Marshall coming home in 22nd position ahead of Chris London. Andy Littler in 24th. Torburn Mail in 25th. A lap down after that opening lap spin was Joshua Syme. And then out of the race was Ben Gibbons. It looked like connectivity issues for him. Stuart Gibbons also out, along with Christian Larson and Matt Pierce. They were all out early doors in that race. A few of them actually didn't even make it to the grid. Right then, with that being said, we've got a few minutes in this one, so let's have a little bit of a look at who is available for a chat after race number 1, after all of that fighting. And in fact, we will have a talk with a driver that was involved in a fair bit of fighting and all of that. We'll have a word with Jura Larkinen out of that opening race, because Larkinen, you were running around in the top 10, but there were lots of fights going on for you. It seemed to be a good one though. How did you find it?
Oh, yeah, it was a brilliant race. Really liked the battle I had with
I do apologise
and
Larkinen.
Daniel Lewis.
The stream can hear you. I cannot hear you. If I just give me 1 second here, and then I will be able to hear you as well, which would be lovely. I do apologise. Off you go.
Yeah, it was a brilliant race. I had really good fun battling John Brown and Dan Lewis, and Carlos sneaking there behind, waiting for a crash or something to get the positions. But yeah, really good fun.
You showed some good pace out there as well, and of course you were getting yourself properly involved in the fights. With the top 10 inverted, it does mean you will find yourself in 3rd position for the second race. How are you finding? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that's good. I think I'm pretty good at the launch, so I should be able to get clean start at least. It's always tough when there are people who haven't practiced or something with the starts, and if you start from the back, then there's so many cars in turn 1, and it gets kind of dicey.
Do you think there's
now easier?
Do you think there's an opportunity to win in the next race?
It's always a possibility. Let's see. There are pretty fast guys here, so let's hope for it.
Right,
and go for it at least.
Good luck in the next race, and well done on getting 8th position in that first one.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you.
You're Larkinen there, and I do apologise for the loud volume at the beginning of that one, as we set a new way of doing our broadcasting commentary so that I can hear things a lot clearer, and so can the drivers that I talk to, so they're not listening to an old shoddy microphone anymore. And with about 1 minute left in warm-up, we will see if we can talk to one more driver here. And we will talk to a man who found his way in towards the top fight, in fact. And it was Jack Brown, of course. Brown, you were fighting your way towards the front. You were looking for the podium, but it just wasn't meant to be. But a really good fight nonetheless.
Hi, Joseph. Obviously, I wasn't expecting you to pull me in. I hadn't raced with Gordon before, and that were brilliant, to be fair. Class racing.
And you are going to find yourself then in 6th position on the grid ahead. No, 7th position on the grid, I should say, ahead of Borkland, Mould and Haig. So do you think there's opportunity to move back towards the front again?
Hopefully. Let's see how it goes. Normally I die in the second race, but we'll see.
Right, good luck for race number 2, Jack, and I'll leave you to it.
Take care, thank you.
Jack Brown there, we will send him back because we are about to get onto the grid for the second race of the day. So, our top 10 will be reversed. The rest of your field will be as they finished in race number 1. As I take a quick of a breather here and a drink, because there was a lot of action going on there. So I hope you are prepared for race number 2, because these inverted grid, even with only the top 10 inverted, still create some interesting racing. Let's have a look then at our grid here on race number 2 at our final pre-season before season number 11. Carl Hardy will be starting this race from the front of the field ahead of John Brown. Jura Larkinen will be starting in 3rd with Demis Titchler in P4. Lucas Henschel will be starting in 5th position ahead of Chris McIntosh in 6th place. 7th on the grid will be Jack Brown, ahead of Gordon Haig. Dan Mould from 9th. And our race 1 winner, Kim Borkland, will be starting from 10th. Then we look through the rest of the field. We've got Daniel Lewis in 11th position, ahead of Daniel Downing. Paul Hurley from 13th, ahead of Deck Crowther. Craig Walters in 15th position, ahead of Dami Herbert. Peter Van Gool in 17th. Scott Malcolm on 18th on the grid. JB Deshay will start in 19th, ahead of Josh Taylor. Then it'll be Christopher Evans and Kevin Marshall. Say Chris London from 23rd, ahead of Andy Littler. Torben May will be starting in 25th. Joshua Syme from 26th. Ben Gibbons in 27th, ahead of Stuart Gibbons. Christian Larson from 29th, and Matt Pearce in 30th. We'll see if everyone makes it to the grid this time. We did not see Larson or Pearce make their way to the grid in race number 1. Ben Gibbons disconnected race number 1. Connection issues for him, so I'm not certain we will see him return to the field for race number 2. And I do know that JB Deshay might not have been able to make race number 2 and had to run away. And in fact, those are the names I can see that have not made it onto the grid. 25 minutes are going to be on your board for race number 2. That extra 5 minutes is going to provide what could be an extra 3 laps of racing here. My predictor meter over here is saying 15 laps, so we shall have to see if that is the truth, and we will get 15 laps of asking, because those extra 3 laps could have been the difference between Jack Brown finishing race 1 in 4th and on the podium. We prepare for race number 2, 25 minutes on the board. We are green and away here as we head up towards turn number 1, as all of our drivers get off the line in different fashions, some quick, some slow, some learning the cars and their launch maps still in towards turn number 1, and for the most part drivers are running in side-by-side formation through the opening corners. Big crash in the background. Who was that into the wall? I think it was Chris London who smashed into the wall at the very back of the order. We'll have to have a look back at that one in a few laps time once things have settled itself down. But right now off the line, Carl Hardy is still leading the way. Jack Brown has worked himself up to 5th, as this is Brown though under attack from Gordon Haig, who has also made a good start off the line here, and will be looking to try and get back through and up the order. We spoke to Larkinen in the last one, and he was speaking about getting a good launch. He's still in 3rd position ahead of Demis Titchler, as they're both running in no, I was about to say they're both running in the they are both running in the Audi machines, was right, and both running under the Racing Forces liveries, different liveries on both those cars though. As right, that was on the opening lap of asking, lots of cars with meatball flags. Andrew Littler, Craig Walters, Chris London, all with issues at the start of this one. This is Scott Malcolm going to the outside of Littler. As Littler's to the inside of Malcolm, he's got a meatball to deal with, and he is fighting hard, and he's just forced Malcolm off the circuit there. Joshua Syme finds his way through, but Scott Malcolm will not be pleased right now. Malcolm has no meatball, can keep on going racing, but contact with Littler, who has that meatball flag, who has to come down pit lane to get it served, and Scott Malcolm will be seeing that and be fuming right now that there was the contact that led to it. Of course, there's no points on offer this week. It is all about learning and drivers seeing what they can and cannot do. And driving around on a damaged car will go under the list of what cannot be done, it seems, and well, trying to battle with it at least. Anyway, Carl Hardy pushes wide through turn number 4, but we do now see our leading chain of drivers getting close together once more. Larkinen looking to try and get past John Brown and move into 2nd position in this race. The top 4 as they were on the grid as we come through turn number 8. It switches across to turn number 9, of course, and it is side by side behind. Jack Brown trying to get past Demis Titchler and up the order straight away here. He's going to be stuck on the inside, and it's going to allow Haig to the inside. Haig goes late on the brakes though. It's contact, and there's more contact. Haig pushing Titchler wide, which led to contact with Brown, which then allowed Haig and Mould to get through. Haig using Titchler as almost a weapon through that corner to get Brown out of his way. And Gordon Haig now moves up into 4th position, side by side for Borkland and for Titchler. Borkland now trying to move up the order. Titchler wanting to maintain position. Daniel Downing pushed Borkland, now pushing Titchler, now going to the inside. 3 wide towards turn number 1. And somehow, with little nudges of contact, they all survive. Borkland ahead of Titchler, ahead of Downing. Carl Hardy is trying to keep ahead in the fight for the lead here as we head up towards turn number 4. He's gone defensive, rounds to the outside, Larkinen to the inside. Haig just behind here is watching this 3-car fight, wanting to be a part of it early doors. Hardy keeps the inside line on Brown. There's contact between the two of them. That's going to open the door for Larkinen. There's contact. Brown and Hardy are hard into each other, and here comes Haig to the inside of Jura Larkinen. Gordon Haig moves through into the lead. Dan Mould is going to be to the inside of Larkinen as well. And that's Dan Mould into second. Larkinen is not going to back out of it though. He's going to keep his car to the inside. Do the best that he can here. As we get up towards turn number 10. Wider line there for Larkinen, and Dan Mould will hold on to second position. Right then, let's jump back to where this all began. Issues for Craig Walters on the opening lap. Crash for him on his PC that led to that crash. This was London. We saw this in the background. It was big contact there. Huge amounts of contact in all of that one. There's the nudge, it just led through, and 3 cars involved, and huge. He almost gained speed in that accident. That's the crazy thing. He almost like gained momentum in all of that. Let's see if I can jump around here to more recent accidents, because I know there was more going on towards the front as Jack Brown is trying to fight along to get past John Brown right now, as all the way down to the previous race. Right, this is what happened with Larkinen's had an issue. Sorry, this has happened while we were watching replays for Jura Larkinen. Contact through turn number 1, finds himself into the wall. I was trying to find the earlier accident that we saw, but it doesn't look like it's showing as an accident. It's just looking like this is the fight. This is what led to the accident at the very front of the field. We watched this live. This is what allowed Gordon Haig and Dan Mould up towards the front, of course, with Larkinen there. Larkinen now into the pit lane. It was defensive here, and because then Brown's on the outside, the 2 drivers push each other onto that wider line. There they are on that wider line. As they come back on, Hardy tries to keep it to the right-hand side to avoid hitting Larkinen. That's where the contact then applied, and that's how that all occurred. Right, I think we've caught up now. It was a lot going on in the early stages of that one, and Dan Mould is looking to try and get past Gordon Haig for the lead on this one. Kim Borkland is up into 5th after winning race number 1, starting this one from 10th, and will be looking to find his way back up the order if potential, and for a second race on the trot. My run of orange bars is highlighting the whole field. This is Dan Mould to the inside of Gordon Haig. There's a little bit of a nudge there, and he is going to keep the inside line. Haig looking to switch across there, can't quite do it. Dan Mould moves through to the lead of race number 2. Gordon Haig in 2nd position with John Brown running around in 3rd. Jack Brown has got Kim Borkland all over his rear here as they come through the double right-hander of 6 and 7. Jack Brown will be looking to try and get past John as quickly as possible here, get himself back into a fight with Mould and Haig, but also to try and not allow Borkland to make the move like he is doing now. Kim Borkland to the inside of turn number 10. Brown's already had contact at that corner. He gets as smooth as he can. There was a nudge between the 2 cars. that they are running together once more. Up towards Junkao of turn number 12. They make the left-hander and on to the start-finish straight. And straight away, Borkland gets the speed and is to the inside of Brown here. A little bit of a nudge once more. Jack Brown is going to have no defence on this wider line. It'll all be about how he takes turn number 1. Is he going to try and brake earlier, try and do a switchback? Is he going to try and take the speed into the corner? He brakes earlier here, but that is going to be opening the door for Titchler behind. It prevents Brown from tucking in to do the switchback line, and Demis Titchler just sticking his nose in for a moment there has dropped Brown down to 5th position, where he will have to stay for the time being. As we go and have a little bit of a look further down as well, this is Peter Van Gool. He's got Daniel Lewis chasing him down as Lewis has fallen a couple of positions from the start. Van Gool has found 5 positions, but this is Brown back past Borkland, and Borkland now under attack from Titchler as we come through 6 and 7. Titchler will have to stay behind, or will he? He puts his nose to the outside. It's going to invite Daniel Downing to the inside. They switch across to the left now, and it is side by side for Daniel Downing and Demis Titchler. Downing will find his way through and up the position if he can keep it on the exit of 10. He certainly does, but Titchler has his nose in, and Titchler will move back into 6th position up towards Junkao now. Onto the brakes, Downing on the outside line. Titchler doesn't do the switchback. He's running that tighter line. It won't give him the speed on the exit though, and that should provide Downing the opportunity to swing across, and that is exactly what happened there. What happened with the lead, because they changed, the fight for 4th position changed. As we have a look here for a moment, because this is going to be to the inside. Titchler trying to hold on, can't quite do it, and now no, he does do it. This is Borkland backing again with Jack Brown. We were going to look at how they made the overtake before. We just don't have time. They're constantly fighting. That is okay. We'll keep on watching this fight right now. Borkland back ahead of Jack Brown. Brown is going to surely look to try and get back past Borkland as they come through turn number 4. It's slightly wider as they drop over that curbing on the outside line, but they are going to maintain themselves in order for the time being, with Borkland ahead of Brown in this ongoing fight for what is 4th position. John Brown holding on to that final podium position right now, and Dan Mould has made his way through for the lead, while we were so focused on everything else going on behind. This happened actually a little while ago, and this is how he did it. He moved to the inside line up towards turn number 4 for Dan Mould. It looked like it was just nice, easy move. A little bit of contact between the two of them there, and he gets turned in, and that's exactly how he made that move work. And Dan Mould leading the way here. He was fastest in practice, and now he is out there at the very front of the order as well. Josh Taylor is the man who is at the rear of a train of drivers that leads up to 9th position of Paul Hurley. That Crowther is trying to get past Paul Hurley and be the leader of this train right now. Crowther to the outside, Brown to the inside as we come up towards turn number 1. It is going to be Hurley holding it, but it switches across. Crowther will get the inside into turn 2, but as they settle down into Curva del Sol, it will be Paul Hurley holding on right now. 9th position, Kim Borkland looking to make his way past John Brown now and onto the podium. Brown went defensive. Borkland goes further to the inside though, and through goes Kim Borkland. Will Jack Brown be able to get up the inside of John Brown? It is side by side between John and Jack Brown right now up towards turn number 6. On the outside is Jack Brown. John Brown doing his best to hold on the inside line right now. Jack's off the circuit ever so slightly. John will go deeper. There's contact between the two Browns, and through goes Daniel Downing. Can he carry the speed on the outside of 9? John Brown holds position in 4th. Jack Brown, though, under attack now from Daniel Downing as we get in towards turn number 10, and under attack from Titcherer, who sticks his nose in. And Jack Brown finds himself falling back down the order once again. He's down into 6th position now with Titcherer all over his rear. We're over halfway through this race right now, and as we come up towards timing line, we'll be going on to lap number 9 of the expected, according to my timing, 15. Paul Hurley is running around once again with Dick Crowther, but Crowther has been able to get his way past Paul Hurley in the battle for 9th position that extends all the way down to P15 right now. As up towards turn number 1, cars in such close proximity at the moment. It's hard to tell when something is going to happen and try and catch it live because they're all over each other right now. Dennis Titcherer pushed Jack Brown through turn number 3. Brown then looks to go defensive here to the left-hand side. It is going to be the outside line for Titcherer. He's going to stay behind, but could invite McIntosh to the inside here. McIntosh gets his nose to the inside. Will have to back down as the fight behind. Also look to go for a moment to the inside, as that is Peter Van Gool looking to go to the inside of Lucas Henschel. He backs out as we head up towards turn number 6, but he looks for a moment like he might be able to make the move through. Daniel Lewis just behind there, got very close rear end of Gould. Had to slow down a little bit harder here, and now has Demi Herbert to his inside. Herbert's going to run the wider line through turn number 9 as Lewis goes a little bit deep into 9. Herbert runs off the circuit, but does carry the pace to stay ahead. And could this be Josh Taylor looking to take advantage of this to the inside of Daniel Lewis? Will have to remain behind for just the moment here. Josh Taylor still looking at the fight going on in front, thinking, where can I take advantage? There was opportunity there, just quite didn't get it enough, but Daniel Lewis runs wide through the exit of John Cow. Josh Taylor to the inside, and we'll get that position as we head through turn 14. Josh Taylor then up to 14th position in that fight. Daniel Downing over the rear end of John Brown as we come in towards turn number 1 and 2. As it is a little bit of a single file train at the front here, and a gap further up towards your podium sitters, Mould, Haig and Borkland. Where does that sound familiar? Oh yes, that was our podium in race number 1, of course. It was Borkland, Mould, Haig in race number 1. If Borkland is able to dispatch Haig and Mould, we could have an identical podium, which is very rarely seen in the SRL League in the inverts. The top 10 inverts for this season, though, might invite the opportunity for that just a little bit more. Downing is looking to try and get past John Brown here. Look for the inside, then Brown goes defensive. Downing goes to the outside line, trying to set up towards turn number 9, but with him having to slam heavily on the brakes there, could invite Jack Brown into this, as at the moment Daniel Downing is in a Brown sandwich. We've got John Brown ahead, Jack Brown behind as that fight continues on. This is Christopher Evans trying to fight with Joshua Syme. Syme, though, gets around the outside, and this is how that overtake was achieved. Syme was running the wider line on Evans, headed up towards turn number 8, though, towards the inside. Evans looked to just give him enough room, tried to keep it towards the inside line there, didn't want contact, but a little bit heavier than he potentially needed to, and it gave Syme the opportunity. Here comes Borkland, though, towards second position. He goes to the inside of Gordon Haig. Haig does not fight that too hard. They are running that same team, of course. No confirmed teams within the sim racing banner apart from Mail and Olsen Leah for the upcoming season, but I do expect to see Borkland and Haig in a team together. They could take that team towards a championship with showing how strong they are here, but Borkland now just needs to dispatch Mould to get a double race win here in the second of our pre-season events. 7 minutes remaining on the clock as we look to Lucas Henschel, who runs wide at turn number 4, was trying to get past Paul Hurley. It will now open up an opportunity for Peter Van Gool to get to the left-hand side. It'll be around the outside line here of 6 and 7. For Lucas Henschel, it will be just trying to keep it on that wider line, and it is going to be Herbert looking to try and potentially get involved in that one as well, as Peter Van Gool stays ahead, Henschel behind, and Herbert almost getting himself involved in that one. Josh Taylor has got past Daniel Lewis, of course, earlier on, and will now be looking to see these fights in front, see if he can get himself. I mean, this does run to a top 10. He could find himself up inside the top 10 by the end of this. Jack Brown then on the rear end of Daniel Downing and John Brown still in this race as he finding it hard to get that Elantra through. We saw earlier in the evening when we were watching the previous broadcast here at Interlagos, the Elantra just doesn't work too well around this circuit with the technical sections. Downing though to the outside of Josh Brown as he is going to be able to hold that wider line here. It'll give him the inside through turn number 2 of the ZRS into 3 now, but he backs out a little bit of a slide, and that's going to be Jack Brown to his inside through the exit of Curva del Sol. It is going to be Daniel Downing on the outside, Jack Brown on the inside line here. Brown has to back out of it though, he doesn't have enough speed and will remain behind in 5th position for the time being as we approach the final 5 minutes of the race. We're looking at 3 more laps of racing action. Lucas Henschel here chasing down Peter Van Gool for a potential 11th position in this race, but nothing doing at the moment in all of that. This is that mid-field fight going on for the points just outside of the points. I say the places just outside of the top 10. No points on offer today, of course, in the pre-season. The points will begin in a week's time when we go to Donington. A little bit of smoke there from John Brown as he locks up going in towards turn number 10. Daniel Downing all getting close to his rear, but Jack Brown getting even closer to Daniel Downing's rear. We come out of the final turn. Again, a puff of smoke coming from the green SRL machine at the front of this train, running around in 5th position. They are getting Chris McIntosh and Demis Titchener closer and closer behind in this fight as well. Through the final turn here as we stick to the left-hand side, as close to the wall as possible. That's certainly what all the drivers are doing, getting the toe, but that is Brown going defensive. Downing goes to the outside once more. He brakes harder though. He's trying to get the run on the exit because now Brown is not going to have the best line through the centre S's, and it is going to be that little bit of uptick in speed for Daniel Downing as Brown goes to the inside. Downing goes to the outside. Jack Brown here holding in behind, watching John Brown and Daniel Browning. Daniel Downing fighting it out just up ahead. Downing goes later on the brakes here, trying to carry it around the outside of turn number 4, and it looks like Downing might be able to do it, but John Brown has just enough pace here. Jack Brown moves to the left-hand side of John Brown. Does he have enough room on the left-hand side? He certainly does. He's now going to be on the wider line, coming through turn 6 and 7 and up towards the breaking point of 8. He swaps over to the inside, backs out to the outside, and here is a moment for Chris McIntosh that he thought, I can try and look up the inside there, and it doesn't play out for any of them. But Daniel Downing has moved his way into 4th position ahead of John Brown, and that overtake is something that Jack Brown has been trying to do for quite some time, is get his way past the SRL green machine. As we are coming up through the turn number 12 of John Cow now. Final braking point, of course, onto the throttle all the way up towards the timing line. 3 minutes left to go, and Port Borkland, as we come on to the penultimate lap of asking here, is going to look for the lead. He goes to the outside as Dan Mould goes defensive into the centre S. It is going to be all over the rear from Kim Borkland here, as they are going to be running as close as you can possibly be, nose to tail through the centre S, out of Curva del Sol now. It is to the left-hand side of the circuit for Mould. He's going extremely defensive. He's sticking there as far as he can until Borkland gets onto the racing line. He moves over ever so slightly then to set himself up for turn number 4. It is still going to be Mould ahead of Borkland for the time being as we come up towards turn number 6 and 7. To the outside for Borkland. He brakes though because he's going to try and get the switch across to the inside. Mould keeps it just slowed down enough, but here comes Borkland. Mould goes later on the brakes there to try and defend that inside line. Borkland has to back out of it for the time being. Gordon Haig is invited back into this fight for the lead right now, as he's seeing the two long-time rivals. Actually, these two have been competing for championships over the seasons. Of course, no mold last season after the first couple of races. Up towards turn number 12 now of Joncao, and it is going to be on to the white flag lap. Kim Borkland all over the rear of Dan Mould. He's going to get one last opportunity to try and take victory here. We come through turn number 14 and up towards 15, as close to that wall as you can possibly be. Dan Mould sticks to the left-hand side here. There is an opening, but not big enough for a car. Surely not, as we go to the outside for Borkland. He's going to switch across the inside. Mould placing it on that racing line, though, getting it slowed down just enough. You can see the flicker of the brake lights there, just keeping Borkland at bay so he doesn't get advantage with the better line through the centre S's. Mould once again goes defensive here, up towards turn number 4. To the outside they both go, as there's just enough space for Mould to feel safe on the racing line. Borkland, though, still all over the rear end as Titchler and McIntosh are running side by side in the background. We can't have a jump look at that fight at the moment, but McIntosh trying to keep ahead of Titchler. As we come through turn 6 and 7, Borkland all over the rear of Mould. There's contact. Mould keeps it facing the right way, though. He is going to be on a different line through turn number 8. Somehow he keeps it together, and Dan Mould will continue to lead now with just a few corners left to go. Borkland moves to the outside. Mould swings across to get the inside line once again. We've got just 5 corners to go now into turn 11, up towards the final braking point. Is this going to be a move for Borkland? He looks to the inside of Mould. Mould tries it with perfect speed, though. Borkland pushes it too hard, and after contact on the final lap, Dan Mould will come around the final 2 corners, and Mould will take victory here at pre-season number 2 for race number 2. Borkland takes second ahead of Haig, the same podium as race 1. Titchler tried do that last lap to get past Chris McIntosh, just wasn't able to do it in the end, and we will have a little bit of a look to see if we can have a look at this contact once again. I'm trying to figure out whereabouts we are in all of this. Nope, this was a bit too late in it all, as this was not who I wanted to watch. Here we go. Let's see if we can have another bit of a watch in this fight. This was the fight for the lead. Look at that contact, just a nudge as Mould tried to place it exactly where he needed to. He's doing exactly what he needed to, his defensive drive, and he managed to keep it ahead in all of that. Whilst that was going on, this was the fight between Titchler and McIntosh for the 7th position. McIntosh was stuck on the outside with Titchler to the inside line. They came up towards turn number 10, and it was the inside line there for McIntosh that ended up keeping him ahead, but Titchler actually put his nose back in once again through turn number 11. It was then side by side into Joncao. Titchler went very late on the brakes, the lock up there, and it provided McIntosh just enough pace to do the switch back, and what a move there from Chris McIntosh on the final lap of Asking. With that all being said and done, then let's have a look at the race results from the second race of the day, and then we will have a word with a few of your drivers after race number 2. Dan Mould takes victory in the end ahead of Kim Borkland. Gordon Haig taking home 3rd, and the same podium that we saw in race number 1. Daniel Downing took home 4th ahead of John Brown. Jack Brown coming home in 6th. Chris McIntosh in 7th in the end ahead of Demis Titchler in that fight we saw in the replays. Dec Crowther coming home 9th, and it was Peter Van Gool rounding out your top 10. Lucas Henschel across the line in 11th ahead of Dammy Herber. Paul Hurley in 13th ahead of Josh Taylor. Daniel Lewis crossed the line in 15th with Torban Mail in 16th place. Stuart Gibbons in 17th ahead of Joshua Syme. It was Scott Malcolm in 19th and Kevin Marshallsay rounding out your top 20. Christopher Evans then came home in 21st ahead of Carl Hardy. Out of the race early was Jura Larkinen and Andy Littler. Chris London as well. Craig Walters with issues with his hardware. And then it was JB Dejay, Ben Gibbons, Christian Larson, Matt Pierce did not get the final race started. Right then, with that being said, I think it is time for a few interviews, would you not? I certainly do think so. So let's get ourselves sorted ready for these interviews. It's always nice at the end of the races to jump back and have a talk with our drivers about how they got on in the race and figure out what their plans are for the upcoming season. Of course, we do have some nice races coming up, and as a reminder to you, this is the upcoming calendar. We head across to Donington Park in just a week's time for the first round of competition, and the first man that we will talk to in all of that has got to be the man who was running around in the top 5 in that fight. We had some good fighting going in all of that one. So the first man that we will talk to at the end of the evening has to be John Brown, because he managed to come home with a very strong 9th position in race number 1, and he took full advantage of it in race number 2 as well to find his way all the way into 5th position. A hard-fought fight. Talk us through your evening.
That was an intense final race there. There were some really fast guys behind me who I knew wanted to come through. I just had to try and hold as many of them off as I could. And yeah, it was really good. First race, I made up quite a few places early on, and then one little mistake coming into the last corner. I think I lost about 4 or 5, so that was a bit disappointing. But you know, it was racing. I just a little nudge onto the grass, and that was that. I didn't have any grip. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I hope everybody who took part also enjoyed it. Roll on season 11.
Certainly, and if season 11 is going to be anything like the second race today, I'm sure it's going to be an absolutely brilliant season, as they have been so far. Of course, so your fight with Daniel Downing, with Jack Brown, you were fighting all race along with them. Do you think that is going to be a consistent throughout the course of this season as well? Because you all had some very similar pace in that second race.
Oh, I think they both just had the edge on me, but I've had plenty of years of defending to practice. So yeah. Hopefully we'll have some really good battles throughout the season. There's quite a few drivers that will do some really good side-by-side racing. I had some really good side-by-side moments with Daniel there, and had to pull out all the stops just to keep Jack behind me, hogging every apex and cutting off where I could. But yeah, no, it was really good. I hope for a season full of it, and there are only, I think, 7 or 8 places left for a 50-car sign-up. So if anybody wants to get involved in something like they've just seen there, there's they've got another week before the season starts, and I think it'll just be a fantastic season. So get signed up.
Definitely. John Brown, congratulations on a great race for you in race number 2 in particular.
Thank you very much.
John Brown there, coming home in 5th position. And as he said, if you want to get yourself signed up for this one, then do head across to the Discord for SRL. And only 7 spaces left, and they will be gone before next Friday. So get across early, as quickly and early as you can in this one. And then let's see if there's anyone else around to talk to at the end of that one, because there were some great fights going on. And in fact, we will have a word, if I can see here, with, as I look down the order, I'm going to talk to the man who had issues in race number 1, in fact. Issues in race number 1, turn number 1, but a little bit of better racing there in race number 2. How have you found your time out there on the circuit, Joshua?
Second race much better than the first. That's for sure. First race, I did it to myself. I spun myself in the first turn 1, and then that just caused chaos, shall I say. And then Sebring was good up until my headphones decided to give up the ghost and crash everything. So yeah, I've enjoyed it so far. Certainly seems like good racing for the most part. So yeah, looking forward to the season.
Because the season starting next week, 10 weeks of competition. How are you feeling approaching into that one then? Are there any particular races where you think this is going to be a great opportunity for us?
I don't really know. I'm looking at the calendar just now. So my teammate, he's relatively new to TCR, so I think he's going to spend the first couple of races sort of getting to grips with them again. I like the look of Donny. I think that's going to be good. I know I'm not great at the Nürburgring, so I'm not looking forward to that, and same with Imola. But Watkins, Snet and Fruxton, looking forward to that. And then Mid-Ohio, I was practicing another week there. It seems quite good. And then Zandvoort, I think should be good fun. I don't know where I'll place in the league. I'm going to take it race by race, basically.
It is going to be a race by race when you're stepping in. That's definitely for certain. But it is looking like it's going to be interesting, especially with the classes introduced. You've got a decent second race there, as you say, until things went a little bit wrong. But moving forward through the season, we wish you the best of luck, and we look forward to talking to you as the season progresses.
Thank you very much.
Joshua Simon there, who came home in the position of number 18 in race number 1 after finding himself towards the back of the order in race number 2 after finding himself towards the back of the order in race number 1. And as I have a look here, we have time for one more interview in all of this. So we will go and have a look at who is available at the end of that one. We've spoken to those two, and we will have a word with... Do you know what, man? Getting back into the car for the first time in a little while and getting out there. We'll have a word here with Chris Evans, who had a bit of a mixed bag of a weekend, but it's nice to see you out there repping the Lancia. How has this evening gone for you, Chris?
It's been fantastic. Really enjoyed it. Few offs, but it's the first time in a TCR, so I don't think I did too bad.
Well, you drove it very nicely indeed. And how are you finding, also, if you haven't had to get used to the changes from the old car to the new car, so how are you finding the Lancia? It's certainly the one that I love driving.
If I'm honest, quite tricky. Tonight's the first time I've tried to do a standing start, and as you probably saw in race 2, it didn't go very well.
It's always a mixed bag with the starts. You can have the best of starts, you can have the worst of starts. Don't feel bad. I stalled off the line in my first ever standing start in a touring car, so it can get worse. Are you looking forward to what could potentially be a season 11? Are you stepping in and maybe giving it a go?
Hopefully, yeah. I'm normally in GT3s, if I'm honest, but I've been slowly talked into doing the TCR stuff with the SRL guys, so looking forward to it.
Well, we look forward to seeing down on the track and seeing what you can do, and glad that you had a good time out there. And I'd say for the first time getting behind the TCR, you did a very good job indeed, so well done, and I look forward to speaking to you throughout the season.
You too, thank you.
Christopher Evans there, coming home in the end in 21st position in race number 2. For him in race number 1, it was a 21st position as well. So 2 21st positions for him at the end of that one. With that being said, then we will go. Go and have a look at our calendar here, because we head out for the start of the season in a week's time. Donington Park, round number 1 will be kicking off on the 10th of April. Do not miss it. It is going to be an action-packed event. It's going to be an action-packed season. If you're watching on SRL TV, get yourself subscribed so you don't miss out any of these broadcasts that will be coming over your way for the next 10 weeks for season number 11. For our competition. And if you're watching over on either of the Jones Bright broadcasting channels, make sure you're hitting the follow, the subscribe buttons over there, so you don't miss out on any of our events. At SRL TV will be back in a week's time as we start the season off at Donington Park. For Joseph Bright Broadcasting, though, we'll be back tomorrow for the next rounds of the Matt Malone Patron League and the ATRL WEC Classic League. And then we've got the touring cars back on Sunday as well, so make sure you don't miss it. We'll see you next time, though. So, thanks so much for watching, and goodbye. Goodbye.